that she is using a drug, even if she's admitted it, come in for help, they must now report her as a child abuser. Private physicians, private OBGYNs are simply not testing their patients because they don't want to know if they're using drugs because they don't want to be in the position of having to turn them in. I do know there are many women who have in fact been reported. Some of them have been arrested since this decision, and Cornelia Whitner still sits in jail for 8 years. If I may just tell about another group of people. In a hospital that was predominantly African American, starting in 1989, one nurse, a white nurse, decided she was seeing a problem of cocaine abuse among the pregnant black patients she was seeing, although she saw a range of patients. And rather than attempt to set up any kind of drug treatment program or counseling, she went to the hospital lawyer and said, "Is there any way we can get these women arrested?" And the hospital proceeded to work with the police and the solicitors, the prosecutors, and set up a policy whereby if a woman tested positive for cocaine at their hospital and was pregnant, they would take her out of that hospital in chains and shackles. Rather than give them any kind of treatment at all, what they did was they acted as police agents from the moment these women came in. They searched them for evidence of drug use, then reported them to the police, then held them at that hospital until they could be dragged out, often in front of their older children or family members, in chains and shackles, in hospital gowns that they had bled through, taken to jail where they were never given a change of clothes, put in incredibly unsanitary conditions for what? For giving birth despite a health problem.
Because the drug addict is a pariah in the society, right? The war on drugs is a war on drug users, isn't it? So even though they say that the drug user is a patient, really most of them can't get into treatment. There isn't enough treatment. More and more, the treatment that they do get into is coerced treatment. It's coming through the drug courts and through the prison system. So someone gets arrested and they go to a judge, and the judge says you can go to prison or you can go to drug treatment. So I'll go to drug treatment. But more and more, the treatment becomes an arm of the criminal system, criminal justice system, we call it the courts, which is really the agency of the war.
Being addicted to drugs is a terrible thing. People in my family have been addicted to drugs and have been hospitalized by it and have had their lives just detoured forever by drug abuse. The criminal justice system doesn't protect them, and it's not helping them, and it's not helping any of the people. And sort of saying, okay, you've got this problem of addiction, let's send you to jail so you can get treatment. That's barbaric. That's a barbaric approach. Is there treatment available? Let me show you what the drug czar says. That we are not meeting the need for treatment. Here's an estimate of the number of persons needing and receiving drug treatment for drug abuse. 1996, total people who need treatment, 9 million. Of the class, this level 2, that are most addicted, 5 million need treatment. Less than 2 million got treatment. 3.3 million untreated hardcore drug addicts in 1996. We've been fighting this war on drugs on how long? And in 1996, in the 4th year of Clinton's presidency, we have 3.3 million hardcore drug addicts who didn't get treatment. Couldn't get treated. That's a crime. The number of deaths has doubled since 1979. It's doubled. It's gone from 7,000 to 14,000 deaths. The price of drugs. Here's the price data. This table. Here are prices in 1981 for a pure gram of cocaine, $3,700, down to $1,600 in 1998.
How about purity?
Purity goes at this kind of wholesale level from 40% to 70%. This tells you traffickers are healthy. Traffickers, when purity goes up, that tells you traffickers are competing for quality. And when the price goes down, that says traffickers are discounting the risks that they're facing, the risks of arrest. So every kind of way you sort of say, are we working? We're failing. Newspaper stories, we're winning the war on drugs. We're succeeding. It's working. We're locking these people up. This is crazy. This is a fraud. This is a lie.
Now we'll go back to Fannin Street because that's where all the flower shops are. I want to get a bouquet of mixed flowers, please. Can you fix me up something real pretty? For my son's grave. That's his grave right there.
How did he die?
He shot up with heroin with about 7 other kids, and then he went to sleep. He nodded out, and they didn't get help.
Why didn't they get help?
They were afraid to get help. They thought they would be in trouble if they took him in, and I don't think that they were aware enough of how bad he was. Because by the time that, I guess they probably sobered up and then decided that it was important enough to get help, but by then it was way too late. They were afraid of being put in jail for being stoned, for being on drugs. They carried him around in his own Jeep. They drove him around for 3 hours. I went to Austin to see, I got the addresses from the ambulance report and the hospital emergency room report. And so I wanted to see what places they had been to. And so I drove around and looked and realized that from one place to the other, they had to drive right by the hospital where he died, where he was eventually pronounced dead. The same hospital, they had to drive by it. They could have just taken him.
But we're afraid.
That's my favorite picture. I really believe that if Jared hadn't done heroin, and I'd warned him not to, that of course none of this would have happened, but people aren't perfect and people make mistakes and people do things that they're not supposed to do. And I don't think it should mean they have to die and that everybody ends up either being a cop or being in prison.